Welcome to Tech Tuesday on the Final Boss podcast, where innovation meets attitude, and the future gets decoded one byte at a time. I'm your host, Turbotheceo, and your co-host, Mike Foth. And today we're diving deep into the tech trenches to uncover the tools, trends, and truths shaping tomorrow. Whether you're a code slinger, gadget geek, or just tech curious, this is your weekly power-up. So grab your controller, plug in, and let's level up.
Welcome to the Final Boss podcast. You got a lot of static in your background.
Is that me?
Yeah. It's gone now. Whatever you did. It's back.
I'll adjust.
All right, go ahead and adjust. Welcome. It looks like I just seen you guys, and it feels like it too. But guess what? I am here. Welcome to the Final Boss Tech Tuesdays, where I and my co-host, the Sensei, Big Mike, we go over and discuss all things tech, including AI. And tonight is no different. We are going to be talking about something quite fascinating, and it's going to expand on the conversation that we had from last week. Last week, we get into it, but it's going to expand until it's going to expand off of the conversation we had last week. And man, we got a great show for you tonight. So you guys, buckle up. To my smarts, to my final bosses, to my motivators, to my warriors. Listen, no matter where you are, all over the world, tuning in right now, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and good night. This is the Final Boss, and I am the Final Boss. This is the Final Boss podcast. I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself. So, look, man, we got a great show for you. Couple admin notes. You guys see the titles. You see the title. All right, the titles are there. The titles are gone. They're no longer here. There, boom, they're gone. So, a few admin notes. Make sure that you're continue to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for all of the likes and the shares and subscribes and all of the notes and everything that you guys are dropping, the comments. We greatly appreciate it. It's fantastic. Keep doing that. Thank you. If you have any questions or information you'd like to convey to us, please shoot us an email. Email us at info@TheFinalBossPodcast. One word. That's info@TheFinalBossPodcast. One word. I got two fingers up, but it's only one. One word. Info@TheFinalBossPodcast. And you can DM us on all of our social sites. We're on YouTube, we're on Twitch, we're on Kick, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Spotify, and soon coming, woo! We got a pod page coming that's going to connect us to a plethora of other sites, including Apple. So for all you guys who are Apple users, we will be on your platform very, very soon, and that's coming in a matter of weeks. So that's being tweaked as we speak. The merch site is going to be up. That merch site will be up very soon. Thank you. I'm speedballing right now, but the merch site will be. That was wild and crazy. I just said that, but yeah, the merch site will be up back soon. You can get some merch. You know, and then you can be fly like us, right? Because we're Final Bosses, and the Final Bosses look good in our hoodies. That's what we do. Okay. That is most of my admin notes. Sensei, you got any words? How are you, sir?
Oh, just again, living a dream.
Living a dream, peachy.
That's what you have to do. It. You got to take every day and find that thing each day that says it's a great day to be alive.
Absolutely.
That way you live that day, you don't exist.
That is absolutely, man. Thank you for that. And we greatly appreciate that energy. Look, we are here. I am here. Sensei is here. Final Boss is here, man. And look, It's brass tacks time. And here's the brass tacks for tonight. Tonight's brass tacks comes from, of course, no author. We're going to find some authors for these things. Tonight's brass tacks is action video game training greatly enhances several aspects of visual attention, such as the ability to effectively distribute attention over space and time, as well as the number of items that can be attended. That might be why I have such a keen eye to detail, because I'm a gamer. And with that, this is tonight's episode number 115. We're going to be expanding on the conversation from attention span and how the effects of TV in attention span. Now we're going to be talking about video games in attention span. And tonight's title is Leveling Up. So, man, we are... We ready? But before we get started, let's get a Sensei a great hand. He's always he's full of great information and surprises. So, yeah.
Well, we try and keep the surprises to a minimum.
Last time, speaking from look, if you haven't watched last week's episode, go to Tech Tuesday from last week. I don't remember what number that was. I think it was like 111. Episode number 111, Tech Tuesday. But just look for Tech Tuesday and check that episode out. And that episode is a precursor to tonight. So last time we walked through how TV chopped our focus into fragments. Tonight, we're adding another piece to that. Video games, not just entertainment, but the world's biggest attention sink. Sensei, how say you?
Here's the kicker. If you start before age 10, think about this. If you start before the age 10 playing video games, your brain literally wires itself around these patterns. And I'm diving right deep in, because
all right, let's go.
This is such a big subject, and there's so much that we need to talk about that we don't pay attention because we think it's just a game. It's just a thing. It's nothing. Okay? But the problem is that if you start before age 10, and think about how many kids are playing games before age 10.
Right.
Okay? Think about that right now. These kids are called linkers right now because they're linked to these devices from birth. Okay? That wiring lasts a lifetime. Okay? You're not just playing Fortnite. You're teaching the brain, this is what rewards look like. This is what effort feels like.
Oh.
And that's a lesson the brain doesn't unlearn easily.
Man, that's a great example. I didn't think of that. I did not think of that.
So, it's not just playtime. It's permanent code written into the brain. Permanent code. You teach a brain how to respond, it's going to respond that way. And then it's like we used to say in the military, right? I train for war in a time of peace. And so when the time comes, it's muscle memory. When it comes time to act, I have the muscle memory built in that I'm going to act in whatever situation because I've been trained for it. Imagine now you play video games and this is your training for your brain. Now, anytime a situation comes up, you're going to respond accordingly because that's how your brain is wired now.
So what looks like just Fortnite time is actually permanent remodeling of a kid's brain. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Wow.
Rewiring the way your kids think. This is why the people that, if you ever watch The Social Dilemma.
Yeah, Social Dilemma. Yep.
The individuals who created social media, they don't let their children touch technology until it absolutely is necessary. So that the children have a hardwired, proper perspective on life instead of a digital perspective on life. And then they let the kids touch technology when they're older, not when they're younger. So your young children, the worst thing you could ever do for your child is let them touch your cell phone at 2 years old.
Wow.
And how many parents you see that? They give
Yeah.
the kid the phone.
You do. You see it a lot.
That's the worst thing you can ever do for your child. You're damaging your child. You're hurting your child. Now, how many parents, when you tell them you're hurting your child, are they going to stop?
Oh no, they're gonna get offended. They're gonna be ready to fight. That's my child. You can't tell me how to raise my child.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's just how it affects the children. We're going to dig into that a little bit more. So, it's called, the next thing we talk about here is called the rise of gaming as an attention economy. Think about that.
So let's trace evolution. So I'm a gamer. I started out with the first gaming system, the first arcade, and even before the very, very first table edition arcades. My dad would take us to the arcade, but then you had those tabletop games and those little handhelds. Always occupied with those things. One of my favorite, so much so that I have in my home an arcade system of Miss Pac-Man and Galaga. Two of my favorites. They're in the next room right now. So with that, a quarter, man, back then got you 60 seconds of adrenaline. Die fast, pay again.
So, and that's the beauty and the trap, right?
Yeah.
Arcades are like little dopamine toll booths. You get a jolt of excitement, and you pay for every extra chance. Kids back then learned pretty quick that money had limits, right? You only have so many quarters. You ran out of quarters, you went home.
Yeah.
You ran out of money. You could hang around and watch the other kids who had money, but when you ran out of money, it's time to leave, right? That break, that stop button, that mattered.
That was a stop button.
You could stop because you ran out of quarters.
Right.
But then you would go outside of there and try to earn more quarters, you see?
Mm-hmm.
Can I cut some grass to get some money? Can I, take out the trash or do something extra around the house? Can I get a couple of quarters so I can go back to the arcade and play? So you still had a tie-in to the real world because you needed to earn those quarters to go back into the arcade.
Right. But you build in a dopamine addiction. That's what it sounds like what's coming. I feel, oh man. Then comes the home consoles, the Ataris, the ColecoVisions, the Nintendos, the Segas, and then later on, PlayStation, of course.
Xbox.
Suddenly, the grind moved into the living room.
And for your kids, into the bedroom.
Right.
Because they have gaming consoles in their bedroom.
True.
And we talked about that on one of our sessions, how to protect your children.
We talked about it in the first season. It was, I think it was one of our early episodes. It was in the 20s or something like that. Yeah, in the first season.
How to protect your children. No technology in the bedroom.
True.
So when the game over, that's when the game over lost its teeth. Infinite retries. Parents brought the cartridge once. Kids can play an endless feedback loop in the living room or their bedroom, wherever else they play it. No financial friction. No natural cutoff. That's when gaming become less about challenge and more about a time sink. You see these kids that they hear about these kids living in the parents' basement, playing games all day. That's all they do. It's a time sink.
Hey, red flag. I'm guilty. As a gamer, I've done that. Listen, there were games. Oh man, what game? There were games I was hell bent on finishing. And
Zelda.
Yeah.
How many hours did you spend trying to find a little extra hidden room so you could finish
Zelda, Final Fantasy VII was one. A lot of those other games. Oh man. Yeah, absolutely. And here's the kicker. This was just the beginning, right? Those consoles were just the beginning. Now, video games become revolutionized by adding online gaming. Once you added online gaming, now you're playing with a multitude of players with games like Call of Duty, Fortnite, and others, and you're playing players from all over the world.
Right. So multiplayer turned into games from private distraction, just
Right.
you,
Mm-hmm.
into social ecosystems.
Correct.
You got your Halo lobbies, your WoW guilds, right? You're not just playing now, you're performing. You're missing a raid just isn't logging off. You're letting down 20 people who are waiting on you to go on that raid. It's
True.
a powerful hook. How many
Yeah.
times have you heard, you watch the YouTube videos of the parent telling the kid, hey, it's time to do some homework, and the kid goes, yeah, let me just finish this. Because
Yeah.
they're in the middle of doing something that they got 20 other people hooked up with them. It's a
Yeah,
powerful
you can't.
hook. So
Right.
it transforms the games from hobbies into an obligation.
Mm-hmm.
That's even worse.
It became an obligation. Yeah, there's missions, and listen, people. For those who aren't gamers, let me tell you, there's a game. Let me use an example. Destiny 2. Destiny 2. When you're playing online, there's missions on there that can last up to 8 hours long. I kid you not, 8 hours long, where you're on one particular mission to get to the boss. I'm not lying. And you're in, like the Sensei said, you're in a lobby and you can't quit, because if you quit, now the team is down a player.
Yep.
So this is real. This is good stuff. It's very. I hope you guys are taking notes. This is going to be a very informative show, and yeah. So after that, did you speak on Halo? Did you already talk about Halo? Because I don't know if you mentioned. Did you mention Halo? Okay, so
it falls in the same. It's the same Halo lobbies and World of Warcraft. All of those things. They're all first-person shooter games, but yet the thing about the Halo and the World of Warcraft is you have groups of people going out together to do a mission.
Absolutely. Like you're doing a real ops for the military, real operation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but in video gaming. So then, look, now we've transitioned into online gaming. Now it's time to evolve again. And now systems have gone from the console to being mobile. And I'm not talking about on a cell phone yet. I'm talking about mobile systems, handhelds, PSPs, handheld Nintendo systems, handheld
The Switches.
the switches. Right. They're now on the fly in your hand wherever you want to go, as long as you got a Wi-Fi.
Yep. And sometimes you don't even have to have Wi-Fi. Sometimes they have their own cell service.
Yeah. But while I'm talking about it, we might as well go ahead and mention cell phones and cell phone gaming.
Right. Candy Crush. It's not just a puzzle game. It's engineered to hit you at the doctor's office, in the bathroom, in bed at 2 a.m. The arcade left the mall and moved into your pocket. And now the game follows you. Okay?
Follows you.
Started as a Pac-Man quarter machine is now a casino that fits in your pocket.
It's a casino in your pocket. Yeah. Candy Crush is a big one. Yeah. When it first dropped, I was a Candy Crusher. I had that problem. I had to break away from that problem. It was bad. But I was one of the fortunate ones that was able to break away.
I mean, it's just part of what it is.
Yeah.
But
let's
shiny lights.
Shiny lights, man. Shiny lights. We can't hold attention for nothing. Let's pause on that, right? Let's take wind it back to the early to the mid 70s when video games debuted. Video games like Pong and the first Pac-Man.
Right.
Those I was gonna say those didn't have a lot of lights. They were pixelated. The graphics were very man. What level of graphics were those back then? Do you know?
Yeah, 8 colors or less.
Yeah, but like graphics now, I don't know what are graphics.
We have 4K. We have 4K.
4K now. Yeah, so much less. Mm-hmm.
Right. So Pong was 2 paddles and a dot. Pac-Man's a little yellow circle running from goats. There's no avatar. identify with it, you don't care what it looked like. It wasn't you.
Yeah.
You played around or two and then moved on with your life. You didn't live in it.
True.
See,
Now look
now,
at. No, go ahead.
no, I'm saying now it's a whole different animal.
Oh yeah. You now you're building avatars that you identify with, who is your persona inside the game. In games like Fortnite, Skyrim, Call of Duty, and then on top of that, there's stats that are collected,
and all your war chests and all your inventories and all your armor and everything you do. Absolutely. So it's a totally different beast. These aren't just distractions now. They're worlds.
Yeah.
You build an avatar, customize your loadout. You grind for your skins. You're not a Pac-Man anymore. You're the character. That immersion means the brain treats the game like a second reality. And that reality has no ending credits. It just goes on and on and on.
Right. Like Pac-Man didn't know your birthday, but Fortnite does.
Right. And it knows your friends. It knows your spending history. Yeah. It knows where you're spending, even your daily play cycle. It even tracks how often you play, when you play. Okay. If the game isn't static, it adapts to you. It's not just a pastime. It's surveillance capitalism wearing a colorful hoodie.
Wow.
That's just crazy.
That's crazy. It's the difference between a scratch off and a Vegas resort.
Right? Imagine that, right? Scratch off ticket versus going to Vegas. You know, once you enter that resort, you don't leave, right? You got daily quests, battle passes, season resets. It's designed so the game never ends. The only limit is how much of your life you're willing to trade. Pac-Man ended when the quarters did. Fortnite doesn't end at all.
Here's the contrast. Back then, kids went outside.
Absolutely. I remember hours of just wandering around, just exploring. We used to explore. You know, when I was born, I was raised in Philly for a bit, and we were in Philadelphia. We would cruise around on Wednesday night after school, and because Thursday morning was trash day, and we called ourselves Trash Pickers of America. And we had a wagon we would tote behind us, and we would go through people's trash to find out what kind of good stuff they was throwing out. That was what we did, just for fun. And we had a little fort in the woods, and we would outfit it with these things. So, you know, you get a little cushion for a couch that somebody's throwing out, or a little chair, and you take that out to your little fort in the woods. And, I mean, we would outfit our little forts. That's what we did.
Did you have cards in your spokes on your bike? So it can make like engine noises.
Oh, and we would take the big wheels and take the seat off of them. And, and we would make little ramps out of wood and then jump the big wheels. So here's the thing, though. I remember hours of just doing this, making up rules for tag, climbing trees, daring each other to jump up the bikes. You know, the ramp was the best thing ever.
Yeah, the ramp
was a fuel.
Yeah.
You had to get creative or go crazy. But this where resilience, imagination, and problem solving got built.
Right.
This is how we did it. You know, you learn the first time going down a steep hill in the wintertime with a sled that there's a tree up ahead. And it's not a good idea to hit the damn tree. So, you know, but you learn that because what's the steep hill is the funnest hill, but that's where the biggest trees are, right? So you learn that. But that's a learned skill set that these kids aren't learning this sitting in the basement.
True. And now
boredom is treated like an emergency. The second the kid says, I'm bored, there's a screen in front of them. Parents think they're helping. Right? Yeah. And what they're really doing is killing the boredom muscle. That muscle matters because boredom teaches patience, imagination, and how to sit with yourself.
Wow.
You know, as an adult, you're supposed to center yourself and you're supposed to like meditate, all these things. If you don't learn that as a child, how to, you know, just be alone and not be entertained, then how do you know those skills as an adult?
But here's the thing, Sensei. Adults can't do that.
That's right.
I know some adults that can't sit still, can't meditate, can't sit in the quiet for minutes on end. It cannot do it. They just can't do it. So instead of boredom building resilience, what was that?
That's a motorcycle going by.
Oh, okay. I was like, man, we've been invaded. Is that a UFO? What is that? What was I saying? Oh, instead of boredom building resilience, games replaced it with endless stimulation.
Right. And endless stimulation isn't free.
Mm-hmm.
You're reprogramming the brain to a constant demand constant novelty. In other words, I need something new. That's why kids can't sit through dinner without a phone or a lecture without fidgeting.
Yeah.
They never learn how. They never learn how to do it.
Right.
Like I said, go to a restaurant sometime and watch these parents with a 2-year-old kid, and 2-year-old kid's got the phone nonstop. 2 years old.
Yeah.
And when they take the phone away, the kid loses their mind. They didn't barely even like want to eat because they got the damn phone in front of them. It's like drugs. It's like feeding your kid Coke.
Not like is, and it's stimuli on the go.
Yeah. Well, boredom used to spark creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Now it just sparks a request for a Wi-Fi password. Or they want the parent to buy the in-game purchase. Hey, I need this level up. I need to spend. So now they're spending money in the game.
And those games aren't cheap. Those loot boxes and level ups, those are not cheap. You may spend $40 or $50 for a console game, but those level ups can go up anywhere from $7 to $100 easily.
Right.
Loot boxes and it's all about microtransactions. And if you guys aren't familiar with microtransactions, that's what you are paying for. When you go look at your Cash App and wonder why your kid is asking for money constantly, that's where it's going to, microtransactions. And that's the casino officially moving into your living room and to their pockets because they have it as a handheld.
Right. It's right there. And it's so easy. They just
click.
I watched my son with his daughter, and she was wanting to play a game, and he had to check to make sure, does this cost money or not? And he had to try to wire her to not be wanting things that cost money and to look, does that request cost me money?
Mm-hmm.
Because she was spending big dollars on the console. Just big
dollars. Absolutely. Some of those games. Go ahead.
This isn't an accident.
No. It's not. No. And some of those games require credit cards to set up.
Just even play them. Right.
To even play them, yeah.
And here's the thing: these aren't accidents. EA calls them surprise mechanics. It's actually a term used when they program these games. They build it into them. It's a Skinner boxes. They push the lever. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't, and unpredictability hooks you. That's textbook casino design.
That's a lot of slot machines for some kids.
Right? And it's worse for the kids because their dopamine systems are still developing. Before age 10, the brain is figuring out how to regulate effort and reward. You flood that system with random jackpots, you're basically teaching the brain real life should work like this.
Wait a minute. That was profound. I'm gonna need you to say that again because effort for reward, that's a whole entire system. That's an entire system that our children are utilizing and learning from, not only from video games, but look at this. Look at schools and other things.
In schools, they throw a tablet in front of the kid. They don't have to write anymore. They don't learn how to write cursive anymore. And I teach, and when I go around the country and teach, I have to teach a lot of material in a short period of time. And one of the things I do is I make my students take a notepad and paper and write with their hand to write the notes that are on the board. And the reason why I have them do that is because it's called kinesthetic learning. And so if you write by hand, you learn better because if I see something 6 times, I'm going to retain it. And if I'm writing on a piece of paper, I have to write, look up, write, look up, write, look up. So I'm seeing the material a lot more, and kinesthetically, I'm making it become part of me. That's why if you want to learn something, write notes, write it down. If you write it down, you'll retain it. And you tell the smarts, take notes. Why? Because if you take notes, you'll retain it.
and Smarts, he knows what he's talking about. And I'm not just the host. I'm also one of his students. I was one of his students for a few of his courses that he taught with 99.9% success rate. Guaranteed.
Because
Give it up
you
for the
use
Sensei.
all of the learnings. I just do
You
what
said
I
what?
do. But
You
I
said what?
just do what I do.
I know,
And
man.
the thing is I tell my students, you put in effort, you'll pass the test because I know the recipe. And if I know the recipe and we're making cake, at the end, we're going to have a cake. If you follow your recipe, you're not going to have a cake. You follow my recipe, you'll have a cake. But see, here's the thing. Schools, they can't stand a chance against that kind of
Condition.
reward system conditioning. There's no way they can stand. They don't have a hope.
Right. So instead of learning the slow joy of building a Lego castle, or even putting a puzzle together.
Puzzles, right?
Yeah.
Get instant gratification.
Right.
Okay. Instant gratification. And what happens when you interrupt the gratification? Right? What do you see from these kids? It's tantrums, meltdowns, withdrawal. Hell, even, you know what? Even suicide. Okay.
Oh man. Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Parents think it's bad behavior. I didn't raise them that way. I'm sorry, but you did. It's the same brain pattern as yanking a slot player off of a machine mid-spin. It's the same thing. Look, if you're doing a line of Coke and somebody interrupts you in the middle of doing your line of Coke, you're going to be pretty pissed off.
Hold on, Mike.
Just saying.
Hold on, Sensei.
I don't do this stuff. I'm just saying. You know, I've seen what happens when people do
I
that. They're like, whoa, don't stop, man. Don't stop. Mm-hmm. You sometimes just got to laugh about the craziness in our
Red flag. Red flag.
I mean, you know, you got a heroin addict taking his hit. You're gonna yank the needle out of his arm? Yeah, he's gonna fight you.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
Right?
Oh boy, man.
Loot boxes are just slot machines with cartoon skins. That's all they are.
That's it. You know, I love that we're able to bring science into our conversations. And there was a study by Cambridge that showed that heavy gamers had reduced gray matter in their prefrontal cortex.
And that's the part of your brain that says stop, think, and choose. Now imagine you weaken that system during childhood. In other words, you never develop that system of cause and effect. Okay? Cause and effect. You learn, look, if I go up to the big guy in the bar and I talk smack, he's going to punch me in the face. But if I've never been trained to understand that, I'm going to be a dummy and I'm going to walk up to the big guy in the bar and I'm going to be in his face because nobody's ever taught me to not do that because there's no cause and effect. It's like building a house on a cracked foundation. Every impulse control issue down the road, school struggles, relationships, jobs, it all ties back to the bad foundation, the crack in the foundation. You don't understand cause and effect, how it works in the real world, and you live in this fantasy world, you're never going to make it in the big world because the big world doesn't care about your game.
And you know what? I'm glad you just mentioned the big world because somebody just dropped a statistic in the chat. They just said that today on the news, it was said that reading and math test scores are down 20 to 30%.
Well, your teachers can't teach because they're fighting against the instant dopamine hit. They start a lecture and talk to the kids and they lose them 2 minutes in.
And Chikandi said that.
Thank you, how do you compete with that?
Yeah. How do you compete with that?
How do you compete with it?
But you know, some people say, oh, they'll grow out of it. No, they won't.
No, they won't. That's denial. That's denial. That's a fantasy land. My kid's a good kid. Ever hear a parent? My kid's super smart. They always love to say, my kid is so smart. I'm like, really? Show me how your kid's so smart. Your kid's not smart. No, your kids are dumber than a box of rocks, but you don't want to admit it because you're too lazy to understand that they're dumber than snot. Okay? They don't grow out of it. It's cement. Once it's set, it's set. You live on it. The only way to fix it is to rebuild it. And most adults don't even realize they're carrying childhood rewiring into adulthood. They have no idea. And think these kids who have had these games, these console games, since they've been little kids, they're now adults. And we wonder why they're struggling in the workplace. And we wonder why they're struggling with mental health issues. Because their whole childhood was wired for instant satisfaction. And now they're adults. And guess what? The piper is coming home. The chickens are coming home to roost. And these kids are now suffering as adults because they were never taught resilience.
And now, because of social media and the ability to become a gaming influencer, which you can get paid from on systems like applications like Discord, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, you could be plugged in for 24 hours or more. Right. Being a gaming influencer.
Loops on loops.
Yeah.
Kids aren't just playing the game. They're chatting, streaming, scrolling, all while trying to focus. That's not focus. That's attention shrapnel. That's the opposite of focus. That's all it is. It's the opposite of attention.
Attention shrapnel.
Boredom that built patience, and for dopamine loops that erase it.
I like attention shrapnel. That's pretty cool. That's a cool one-liner. I'm gonna use that one. Let's talk about the battles at home, right? Because we know they exist. We know that. Let's be honest. Parenting isn't what parenting used to be. And not only that, I'm going to just leave it. It's a different world. Let's leave it at that.
Parents don't get it, okay? We've talked about this in the past where the great-great-grandfather walked, and then the great-great-grandfather or the great-grandfather had a horse, and then the next one had a car, a Model A. The next one had a Ford. Next one had a Cadillac. Next one had a Mercedes, okay? And the next one after that was walking again, okay? Because hard men create good times. Good times create soft men, and soft men create hard times. So that's what's happening. These parents don't understand that the harder that they can be on their children and the tougher they are with the children, the better adults they become, because you teach them that the world is a tough place and it's not very nice. And if you learn that the world is not very nice, you survive very well in it. Look, the kids of the 80s, we're feral creatures, okay? You go out there and you drink from the water hose, for God's sake, okay?
Right.
Those kids will survive anything, all right? Straight up. I learned how to make water clean with just t-shirt, okay? So that's just the way it went, you know?
Yeah.
I learned how to take and find some electrical tape and a piece of toilet paper, and that was a Band-Aid, okay?
Right.
But that's the way it was. And if it wasn't spurting blood, if it was oozing, you're good to go. You don't go home, right? And if it hurts, so what? Walk it off. That's what we learned, right? So parents, they walk in and say, it's time to get off the device. And boom, they're the villain. Why? Because you're not cutting off the fun. You're pulling the plug on the dopamine. And no one rips out a needle calmly, okay? You're going to rip out the needle. Is it nice? It's not nice. So, of course, you're going to have a problem. And what's going to happen?
Well, a lot of parents are just going to give them the tablet back.
Right, because that's the easy way.
Yeah.
Quiet kid, quiet house. Mm-hmm. And here's why. They call it the electronic babysitter. It's not babysitting, it's sedation. It's like you're feeding your kid morphine, all right? You're knocking them out. And say, why does that happen? Okay? Why? It happens because the parents are both now, to survive, out working full-time jobs, and they get to spend, 15 minutes with the kid if they're lucky? So when they come home, they want peace and quiet, so they do whatever it takes to get peace and quiet, because when the kids are crazy, they don't care what it takes to get some quiet. They just want 5 minutes of quiet, turns into a couple hours, and they don't care because they're so worn out themselves. And that's what happens, okay? The parents will convince themselves that, well, at least it's educational. Minecraft equals creativity. Roblox equals coding. And that's to rationalize. They rationalize it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what's happening. What do the doctors tell you? When they look at these kids that are out there doing this stuff, what do they tell you?
With the doctors,
Yeah.
Man, I'm quite sure it has something how it's affecting their brain and
Right.
doing brain scans and things of that nature. I'm quite sure that those are affected by all this dopamine and
Oh,
lack
it's
of
insane.
focus. Yeah.
Right. And so when they look at the brain scans of these kids, they're just they're just like realizing that, man, these kids are in trouble.
Mm.
It's we're in trouble. We're in trouble because our future is doesn't have a chance right now of having it as good as we did. That's the reality of what we're saddled with right now. Okay? Because good times we've had are creating soft people. And these soft people, as you see with the lower education scores, and look at this, just the crime statistics, okay? You think about what causes this massive crime that we have, this you're seeing all over the media. And it can really comes down to if my reward system says there's no repercussion because I play Grand Theft Auto and I get points for running the hookers over with my car, right? And I get points for running away from the cops. So the, if the value system isn't there, you see these people going out there. Well, if I steal from the store, it doesn't hurt anybody. That's the mentality you see. I'll steal from the store. That doesn't hurt anybody. I'm not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
And the impulse control is gone. Because if I'm playing a game and you piss me off in the game, I go kill you in the game. Now I take that and translate to the real world. I'm going to beat you up. I'm going to fight you. I have no impulse control. I don't care. I don't care what happens to me. I'm just going to lose my mind. Right? Look what happens at this recently, this baseball game. You know, what happens in a baseball game when the ball gets hit in the stands? Whoever gets the ball while the ball's moving, that's their ball, right?
Right.
Okay. So if you think you're supposed to have the ball and somebody else got the ball and you think that that's your ball, what's going to happen? Used to be, it was like, whatever, I didn't get it,
Yeah.
Now it's like, I'm going to go get in that person's face and I want to fight him. Unbelievable how these people are.
Yeah.
No control over their emotions at all. None.
Yeah.
Right? So, when you look at these brain scans of these people, they don't show learning. They show the reward centers firing like a pinball machine. Ping, ping,
Mm.
ping, 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 nonstop. The kid's not building patience or problem solving. They're building compulsions. Right? They're building a very poor way to deal with the world. Because the world is not a very friendly or forgiving place.
Right.
And to feel offended because nobody ever taught you running around out in the neighborhood that if you're offended, so what? Get over it. These kids are actually coddled because the moment they screech, their parents do what's called helicopter parenting
Right.
and reach over to protect their little child, their little baby. And what do they create? Little monsters. They're creating these little terrorists, these little people that become adults that are just not fit to live in society. They're just not. Society is supposed to be civilized, where we have boundaries, where we speak about our problems, we discuss rationally. If I have a difference of opinion, we agree to disagree, but we do it on civil terms. Like, we're devolving down into that we don't even want to do that anymore. We want to go right to the arena. We want to go right to the arena and have a bloodbath. That's what we want to do. Might makes right. Is that really how we're going to live this world? Might makes right. The louder I scream, the righter I am.
Hmm.
That's the thing. Because the children learn that, right? The
Yeah.
louder they scream, they get their way. So you take an adult, you take a college student who's out there, who's been involved and raised in this kind of environment, and you get them indoctrinated because somebody's telling them some BS ideas, and they take that as fact because they don't know how to they don't know how to cross-check anything. They just
Right.
believe what they're told because because that's all they've ever done their whole life is consume, consume, consume. So now they're going to try and regurgitate this garbage that's been fed to them, which is not based on fact, but based on fallacy and presumption. And what do? They get out there and they get this righteous self-indignation. I saw a video of this lady didn't like the fact that somebody had a sign. They're exercising their First Amendment right, and they're holding up a sign, and she didn't like it. So she grabs the sign and yanks it from them, thinking that she's fully justified doing that. And then when the police show up, and the guy wants to press charges because that's a form of assault, and then she was like, but I really didn't do anything. And she had no way to even mentally comprehend how wrong her thoughts and actions were. She didn't even have it built into her brain to even wrap her head around how wrong she was in doing what she did. She thought that she was fully justified. And then she thought, well, I can just go now. You know, we're done here. I can just go. Thinking that it's like a game. Hit the reset. I lost to the big boss, and I'm going to start over. Didn't realize that the world don't work that way. And they handcuffed her and took her ass to jail. Right? Because guess what? The real world has repercussions. Now, there are many places that we have gotten away from that because we're now adjusting our what is proper and civil, and now we're coddling the criminals. We're coddling the rule breakers. And we don't, let them go. They've got a mental problem. Instead of, hey, you did something wrong. You're going to pay for it. I don't care if you knew that it was wrong or not. Ignorance of the law is no excuse of the law. And we need to get back to ignorance of the law is no excuse. Because when you don't act like a civilized human being in society, you need to be removed from society. Look, we need to bring back, and this is going to be controversial, and I know it's controversial. We need to bring back asylums because we have enough people out there that are mentally ill, roaming the streets.
But you know, Mike,
civilized society suffer.
There has to be some type of, I don't want to say just corporate social responsibility, but there has to be some other type of responsibility, because mental health, the way it's on the rise, there has to be things that are causing the mental health to be on the rise. It has to be
a problem, right? Well, think about how many of these people,
but I mean,
suffering through these mental health issues,
have
been subjected to what we've been talking about tonight. They never learned impulse control. They never learned how to go out and earn a living. They never learned the benefits of being a productive member of society. And when they don't learn that, when it comes down and crashes down on them, living life is hard. Being an adult is hard. And when they've never faced hardship their entire life because mom and dad helicopter piloted them and helicopter and protected them, hovered over their whole life, what happens when mom and dad die and they're not there to do that anymore? Who's going to protect that little child, take care of? Nobody.
But what about situations where there's you brought up a lot of variables, but what about variables where there may be economical challenges, and it's their livelihood and the things that they're eating and intaking comes from a place where it's economically challenged, and that food isn't good for you. You're eating what you're able to afford. But on top of that, some of those environments are highly toxic and a lot of trauma-based environments that causes these things when people become adults.
Mm-hmm. Well, think about this. We're taught our whole life, look, I have to have. It's a necessity. It's a requirement for life that I have a smartphone. It's a requirement of life that I can't live unless I have my technology. I can't live unless I have, these fancy clothes. I can't live unless I eat at fancy restaurants, or I eat at restaurants. I can't survive and live unless I have these things. So what happens is people are living so far outside of their means that they're economically under the sword's going to fall on their head, because they are thinking that necessity, a luxury is necessity. They think luxuries are necessity. And so since you believe that a luxury is a necessity, then how are you ever going to earn enough? And if you've never been taught the skills to get out there and work harder than everybody else around you, where's your value in the system? So the system rewards you accordingly.
Yep.
And that's one thing about our system in this country, is that you tend to get rewarded accordingly to effort. So if you've not been taught to put in the effort, and the system doesn't reward you, but yet you have the expectations, what do they call it? I have caviar taste on cat food budget, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many people do you know of that don't have money for anything, but yet they're smoking cigarettes? They don't have money for food, but they're smoking cigarettes, and they got a cell phone in their hand.
Well,
Or they
that's
got their nails done. They got their hair done. They
right.
designer bags that cost thousands of dollars. They can't afford rent, but by God, they got that Prada bag.
Hey, there's a saying: you never see a crackhead not be able to buy crack.
Right? Right, because it becomes the priority.
Yeah.
And the problem we run into is that we have this society that we have created: short attention spans, instant gratification, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so since we've done all this stuff, we've hurt ourselves so bad that with how we've narrowed down our abilities, we don't know that working 10 years is within reach. We look, these young kids that are out there working, the ones that do really well, in 2 years they want to move on. They don't believe in staying with a company for 5 or 10 years anymore. It's 1 year or 2 years and they're gone.
Yep.
Because that's how they're wired. Instant gratification. If you don't constantly give them instant gratification, I've seen it happen, and this has been, oh my God, 20 years ago.
But you know what else?
It happen.
There's a downward trend of young, able working adults where they're not going into corporate.
Right.
Yeah, they're not going into corporate.
Nope.
They're finding jobs online. They're doing these influencer stuff.
Oh yeah, they're doing gig work. They're gig workers.
Yep.
Yeah, gig jobs. They'll have 6 or 7 jobs they do. They'll do DoorDash. They'll do Lyft, Uber. They'll do odd gigs here and there for different things that they do. Yeah, they do gig work. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Because because it's constantly changing. You see, and because think about it, they've been wired to do that. They've not been wired to work a 9-to-5 job.
True.
You're finding many companies in every industry right now are desperately seeking and looking for, people we hear about all the time in the trades, looking for young apprentices who come up who want to learn to become electricians. Companies are starving for those young people who want to become electricians, carpenters, plumbers, all these jobs that are super important to our infrastructure. And yet the young kids aren't coming up, and guess who's up there working? The guys that are in their 50s and 60s. Those are the ones pulling the load.
Yeah.
People that should be getting close to retirement in those labor-intensive jobs are working longer and longer and longer because there's nobody coming up behind them. I know
there's somebody else that's working those jobs too, elephant in the room, but we're not going to talk about that because we don't do politics. But
no, we ain't doing that. But
yeah.
So I'll give you an example. I know a company who had millions of dollars of contracts lined up.
Mm-hmm.
They were bringing up this young guy as a foreman. And as they brought this young guy up as a foreman, they were teaching him to be a foreman. Another company came by and for big dollars, poached this guy. He was sharp. He was good. He was going to be an excellent foreman for this company. They invested some time and effort into him to get him there. He left. At the same time, 3 of their main foremen were retiring. So therefore, that was their crew. They had 4 foremen running crews. They had to shut the business down because they didn't have a foreman to run the crews. Millions of dollars of contracts already lined up, but they had to shut it down because they didn't have the workers. They had the laborers, but they didn't have the foreman, the
Right.
folks who have spent years and years and years learning how to run jobs, learning how to do construction jobs and manage the whole thing. That's a skill that I don't care. You can't get that in 5 minutes.
Oh no.
That takes decades to learn.
Oh yeah.
And so you're seeing companies across the country suffering, and they're going to suffer in the next 5 to 10 years even more than they are now, because we're not having young people going into trades. Everybody's told you got to go to college, but they come out of college because college nowadays is not college. College nowadays is like having a high school diploma, because the level of education you get in high school is like elementary school. And this is no doubt. If you want to argue, prove me wrong. Kids coming out of high school with a high school diploma are like kids back in the day with an elementary school education. They have to go to college and do 4 to 5 years to get a high school education, an equivalency of a high school education. Has to happen. So now you got kids who are spending, instead of getting out of school at 18 years old, they're not going into the workforce until their mid-20s now. Starting in the workforce in their mid-20s. And they should have started in the workforce at 18. So they lose 5 to 10 years of their productivity where they could learn a skill, and they're starting later in life.
Yeah.
And they think they're worth more than they are because they think they have this great skill set because they have a diploma. In reality, they have no skills. They have no work experience. They'd have been better off starting off at 18 without a degree, and they've been further ahead. And now they also have $100,000 of college debt and no jobs, because those jobs they're being trained for in college are going away faster than you can breathe.
Yep.
So that's what's happening.
Yeah.
And it is all, it's difficult because I hate to say it this way. I don't mean that I'm not Nostradamus and I don't predict the future, but before things get better, they have to get worse. And I hate to say that because that's not a positive way to end the segment, but it's the reality of the world we live in. Look at where we have started with this technology and what we're doing with it. The more you use chat, especially as a child, the less you think for yourself. And if you don't think for yourself, you don't know how to think.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to think, all you are is a sheep, and all you can do is follow the rest of the herd. You follow the flock. And if it's going to walk off the cliff, you're going with it. I mean, it's easy to be dumb, right? It's easy to be dumb.
But you know, it's even there's much more to it. They were interviewing some kids not too long ago. I was watching something and I don't recall exactly what it was, but their attitude is, what do I need an education for? What do I need to go and work at this job for? It's not benefiting me. They have figured out that working hard doesn't equate to being able to live a good life anymore. Those days are over. So now kids are like, they're just like, F it.
But here's the problem. Somebody has to keep the lights on. Somebody has to keep the water flowing. Somebody has to keep the roads built, repaired. Somebody has to do this work. Somebody has to do it.
Somebody has to do it.
Somebody's going to do it.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to these kids that think that they don't need to work for nothing, they don't care, and their lights go out?
Well.
And there's no drinking water.
I have ideas. The National Guard.
You're going to have chaos and anarchy in the streets. You're going to have somebody come and save me. That's all you're going to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But then again, you know, like I said, I'm not Nostradamus. I don't predict the future. But I do understand.
Yeah. We can understand the matrix.
I understand the matrix.
And see the writings on the wall.
And it's the writings on it. Look, learn how to read the code. Read the code. You can predict what's going to happen because the code is the code.
The code is the code. Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Sensei, and I am the final boss. And that, my friends, concludes this segment of episode number 115, Leveling It Up Whew.
Don't send your kids to college because if they're stupid kids, they become educated idiots.
Oh man, you terrible, bro. You terrible. Oh man. Listen up, everyone. To my smarts, to my final bosses, to my motivators. Listen. We're not on here telling you guys these things for no reason. Please, you can go do the research. There's a lot of information out there that will you can marry up to some of the talking points that we were talking about during this segment. And you will be like, hey, he said this. Yeah, it's true. It's very, very true. And the thing about it is, we can only walk you to the information. We can only walk you to it.
We plant the seeds.
We can only
plant you got to water it. You got to water it.
You got to water it. And, whew, man. Times are going to be real special in the next couple of years. Whew. Real special.
We got between 5 and 10.
Yeah. Between now and 2030, going to be very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And look, that's our show. That is our show. Remember this. There's a heavy pain that comes with discipline, but the pain of regret is even heavier. That's our show for tonight. Be good. Be great. Be awesome. And no matter wherever you are, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Thank you for tuning in. This has been the Tech Tuesday segment of the Final Boss podcast, episode number 115, Leveling Up. I'll see you guys again on Thursday for special guest Thursdays. And you will see Sensei and I again next Tuesday. So make sure you tune in for that. And if you want to, drop a like, share, and subscribe. Go watch the last couple of episodes and you'll see exactly what we're talking about and how they run right into each other like magic. And that, my friends, I bid you adieu. Hell, did I say be balanced, be equal, and be smart? Okay, that's it. Y'all have a great night. Talk to you soon.